Hello, welcome to a late night version of Hotline Live with Record Sport. I'm Daniel Combe, delighted as always to be joined by Keith Jackson. Keith, how's it going?
It's been work, Dan, I have to tell you. I mean, like, that we've got two new players on our side tonight who I thought made great debuts, Lady Luck and Fate. When that happens for a Scotland side, you know it's going to go all the way. But we're getting to a World Cup now. There's no other way of explaining it. We don't get luck like that. Why don't we go straight to Fraser? He was there. Fraser. I'm right, isn't I?
You're right. Look, the cleaners are out in the pitch at the moment. They're going around sweeping up what I think is collapsed jaws all around the place. Nobody can quite believe what's just happened here. You know, I thought I've actually just said James McFadden was the front of the programme today. The picture of his strike for Paris 18 years ago. I think this was equally as much of a robbery job as that night in Paris, and that's saying something. For 62 minutes, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. For 2 minutes after that, it was game over. I think everyone was ready to go up the road. And then out of nowhere, 3 goals out of nowhere. I think it just showed the importance of set pieces to this team. Don't underplay the importance of Billy Gilmore coming on and changing the tempo in the midfield.
We'll get round to that.
And I really hope folk remember that Angus got, I love a goalkeeper. That save for Angus gone at 2-1 in injury time. Crucial.
Fair.
Just before put the game to bed. So big moments all went in our favour tonight. And you're right, Keith. Captain Lady Luck saw us through in the end. Do you know what? I stood and watched Steve Clark. We're obviously perched just behind Steve Clark in the dugout there. He looked calm as anything all the way through the game. Everyone's losing their heads. He just stood as he does with his hands behind his back, unflustered. His headers flew wide. Balls were cut back across the box. Hampden was losing her senses, and he just looked as if this was the game plan, and he knew exactly how it was going to play out. Maybe it did. It's incredible. All that matters was massive 3 points.
That's what he does, Fraser. I mean, that was a Steve Clark win that you've seen 100 times before, whether it's at Kilmarnock or we've got no right to win that game of football tonight.
Yep.
And in fact, I think he got his tactics wrong. I think he got his team selection wrong. And as you said, he doesn't flap. He then takes off Ben Gannon Doak, and that antagonises an entire stadium because at that point you're thinking he's the only bright spark out there. He's the only chance. He puts Ryan Christie over at left-hand side, makes room for Billy Gilmore, who should have been on from the start, and all of a sudden we're a different team. And by the way, do you know how funny it is, how completely ridiculous it is? It was Ryan Christie that takes the corner, absolutely botches it, shanks it, overcooks it, but then somehow he's the guy that gets into the box to get on the end of it and get the equaliser that started this whole ridiculous chain of events.
Right off the training ground, that, Keith.
I know. Also, as well, it's worth saying that I don't know if you saw it in the stadium, Fraser, but I think he's offside, Grant Hanley. Like there's a long VAR.
To work out how we've managed to get away with that one as well. Big moment again.
I've looked at it again. He's offside.
No. There's a Greek defender that's been sparked out and is lying there, and I think his big toe, is just about playing Grant Hanley onside. Honestly, how much ridiculous! I hope I've not used it all up tonight, but I don't think so. I think this is a Scotland side which was nowhere near itself, but isn't it good just to get a little bit of luck for a change? And that tells me that we're going places in this campaign. I genuinely think we could end up winning this group.
Fraser, I know you've got post-match duties to get to. I know plenty of stuff to get on with. But before we let you go, is Keith right? Are we getting to the World Cup?
Well, as it says, after that tonight, I thought this was the kind of, obviously it was a halfway stage. This was a massive test. After what Greece done to us here back in March, I mean, I remember that all too clearly. And after an hour tonight, I thought the exact same thing was happening again. I thought we were dreadful. Keith's right. The tactics seemed wrong. We're standing off them. We're letting them play, and boy, were they enjoying playing. It was awful. But to come through that with 3 points tonight, you've got to think so. I mean, you've got to hope we go and deal with Belarus on Sunday now, and our big players actually get to express themselves, and then that tees us up for an absolute monumental doubleheader next month. Going to that with 10 points, and honestly, the American dream's alive.
Brilliant, Fraser. Thanks so much for joining us in the Hotline Live.
Thanks,
guys. Much appreciated. Good luck in the mix zone.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Fraser Wilson there, Keith. Good of him to join in.
It's good to see a man happy at his work.
Well, you had 3 of them there because, look, I don't even know what to say about that game. Before we get to that, if you're watching at home and you want to let us know your thoughts, your comments on Scotland's win tonight, please do so, and we'll try and read it out. I've got a few already in, Keith, but they're all in the same vein. Mark says, just off the phone to the police to report an obscene theft in the south side of the city. Though the Greeks would have had made it more difficultly if they had less Olympic divers than football players.
That made it sweet.
Paul says, I never saw that result coming after Greece took the lead. Mark also points out, remember the Pavlovidis sitter in the first half?
Astonishing.
Still trying to work out how he didn't score that.
Astonishing. I mean, that is basically, what, half a yard out from an open goal?
And he's a really good player.
And the ball goes over his laces.
Mad.
Honestly, that there, and I'm telling you now, that's fate. Let me predict something right now. Greece will now go to Copenhagen on Sunday, and they desperately need 3 points to have any last chance. They're almost down and out, but they'll go there with something to play for, and that's huge for us. I'm going to predict that they get a draw in Copenhagen, at least a draw, and that is the result that then sets us up, because all we need to do at that point, take care of Belarus. We go into the final 2 games. A draw finishes Greece. It's not going to be enough for them. So I think they get the draw in Copenhagen. By the time that we go to play them in Athens, they're out. They're effectively they're playing for nothing at that point, and that gives us the opportunity to go there before Denmark come to Hampden. And if I'm right, all we need to do at that point is just draw the game. So
I think another permutation as well is that if Greece go to Copenhagen and lose and we beat Belarus, we're guaranteed at least a playoff place.
I don't want a playoff. We went through that. It was agony. It's too jittery. Let's win this section. We can do it. And I just think that fate has just dealt us an incredible set of circumstances. I think if Greece can go and get a point in Copenhagen, that finishes them off because it's not enough. And it really sets us up. And by the way, we'll take 4 or 5 off Belarus, having been over at the game in Hungary previously. I mean, they are rotten. They are rotten.
Lost 6-0 tonight against Denmark.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get back to tonight. What was he thinking not starting with Billy Gilmour? Every time he does it, it has the same effect on the team. And I don't know where that one came from. And I was down at Hampden. Ryan Christie was doing the press the other day. And he was asked about, has Steve ever talked to you about perhaps playing in the position that you play at Bournemouth in a more central role? No, it's never come up. I've never asked him. I'm just happy to play. All of a sudden, from nowhere, Ryan Christie gets that central midfield position. And I'm not going to blame him for anything. I think he's a really good player, and he's obviously scored the goal that turned that game in its head. But without Billy Gilmour in there, we had no control. We had no composure. We had no craft. We couldn't keep a hold of the thing. And I think when Billy Gilmour come on, you saw the difference. He played, one ball through at Shea Adams from a free kick. It was an absolute thing of beauty. We nearly got a goal out of that one, deflected just wide. He then zings the pass over to Lewis Ferguson. Tsimikas takes him out. Tsimikas, takes Lewis Ferguson out. We get the free kick, and that's where we get our second goal. These were all moments, and just when Billy Gilmour's on that pitch, we look like a far better football side.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know why he keeps making this decision. Sometimes Steve Clarke gives me the impression that he thinks he's smarter than everybody else, maybe a little bit too clever at times, because there's just no way of convincing me that Scotland aren't a better football side when Billy Gilmour's in the middle of the pitch.
I completely agree. I completely agree. He's a top-class footballer. That's the top and short of it. I mean, he should be in the starting 11.
When we gave up the midfield again tonight, I felt, and that's why for over an hour, I mean, there were points in that second half where Greece were actually just waltzing through us.
It was really bad.
Through the midfield, through the defence, we were nowhere. We were a yard off it in all areas. When we got the ball, we couldn't keep the thing. These are all the attributes that Billy Gilmour brings. I thought he was a glaring absentee for that first hour or so. I don't think when he came onto the pitch he was brilliant, by the way, but he just gives you that little bit of its composure, its culture, a little bit of class, and an ability to keep hold of the football. And that's crucial at this level. And every time Steve Clarke takes him out of that team, we're giving up that area of the pitch. And I find that a concern. I don't know why he keeps doing it.
We've got comments coming in, Keith. Not everyone is happy though. Sammy says Gilmore would not have changed their playing style if he started. He's been on the pitch for plenty of gutter performances. Jog on insists, Keith, we're going to get pumped in Greece. Look at the stats for tonight. Shocking. I've got to say, I don't know his real name, obviously, right? How can you not be in cloud nine if you're a Scotland fan after watching it? How can you not be absolutely buzzing? Who is sitting at their computer going, we're going to get pumped in Greece? I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, listen, I understand it all as well, because, you know, I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything here. Greece were way better. They were miles better than us tonight.
Aye, they were, aye.
But we got a bit of luck, and we never get a bit of luck, so we should enjoy the moment. Yeah. And what I would say to Jog on there is, well, you know, if Greece are down and out by the time that we go there, then that can only help us. Yeah. And we've already, you know, it was only earlier this year that we went over there and got a win. So, you know, no, I fail to take anything. I mean, you can, of course, it's our job to analyse it, and we will do, and we have done, and I've written 1,000 words analysing that performance tonight, and it's plainly not good enough. I've said it was probably the most ill-deserved win in Steve Clarke's 71 games as Scotland manager. He's now pulled level with Craig Brown. And over all of that period, I can't remember being us as fortunate to come away from 90 minutes with a victory. It was almost obscene, but I absolutely loved it.
I loved every minute of it.
It almost made it even sweeter.
Aye, no, it does. I seriously think it does. Like you say, look, I don't want to woes me, you know that. We've had so much bad luck as Scotland fans. So much of it.
For decades and decades.
So now you've got a wee bit.
So see, in injury time, when the goalkeeper has a complete brain fart and tries to stop a corner by giving us a goal, you know, this is just, it's too good to be true. And that's why I've now convinced myself there's no way we're not going to this World Cup.
In the comments, Adam says, looks like we might fumble our way to this World Cup. Mark says, if we don't get to the finals this time, it could be decades before we do.
I agree with Mark there.
William says, Denmark aren't that good. We came away with a point in Copenhagen. I can see us beating Denmark and Greece in our last two games. Greece will have nothing to play for. And AGSC Tech says, that performance was so bad that even a 3-1 win still warrants deep investigation. I mean, on that, Keith, like, as you can see, I'm absolutely buzzing, right? But how concerning is it that for an hour there, we weren't just second best, we were woeful, diabolical?
Yeah. It's a concern, and our home form has not been good for a period of time now. You just hope that can act as a little springboard for us, a turning point. Everybody needs a little bit of luck in life, Dan. We just never get it. So we've kind of given up on the hope that we might do one day. But look, do you know what? Yes, we sat and watched what we watched. Yes, it wasn't pretty. Yes, it was actually concerning at times because we were so far away from what we would think we would usually look like under Steve Clarke. But see, at the end of the day, the rest of Europe will be looking at the scores. Scotland 3, Greece 1. They'll go, bloody hell, it's a big result for Scotland, and it is. So we could analyse it to death. And as I've said, I'm sorry. I hate to criticise Steve Clarke because he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? But there are moments when I think he overthinks it, and I think we'll do a lot better if he just sticks to playing his best players in their best positions, and you know, stop giving up the middle of the pitch, because we're actually a good side. We're capable, and we have got the players to go and play people at you know, a proper game of football. We don't need to be overly physical. We don't need to overthink things. We just need to put our best players on there because they can handle the ball. When Billy Gilmore's in there, he knits the whole team together, and he allows the midfield to link with players further up the pitch. As I said, even the ball that it brings about the foul on Ferguson that gets us the second goal ultimately.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
It wasn't a brilliant ball from Billy Gilmore. It was a brilliant idea. He saw the pass. He's not just executed it perfectly, and that's why we end up winning the free kick, because if it was executed perfectly, Lewis Ferguson, or I think there was somebody beyond him, was it McGinn out on that side, is going to get onto it. So it was a brilliant idea to hit the ball, probably not perfectly executed, but because he's got the vision to try and do that and the imagination to try and do it, look what we get out of it.
Yeah. And
it was going to take something like that, whether it was dead balls or whatever, but it was just such a momentum shift from the moment that Christie equalises. I've got it right as the game's going, and I actually wrote at that time, you just sensed that something was brewing now, and that was when it was still 1-1. I'd already got it in my head, Scotland are going to nick this. This is ridiculous, but Scotland are going to nick it.
You mentioned there as well, John McGinn, and I bring him up, and Scott McTominay, just to highlight how out of the game they were tonight. I forgot they were playing at one point, but I'm going to try and flip that into a good thing, because we won without arguably our two best players having any impact.
Listen, I thought John McGinn soldiered away on the right-hand side.
Aye, of course, aye.
And he had little moments, and but yeah, nowhere near the impact that he had in the previous two games of this section, away in Denmark and then against Belarus. It was just an off night. Nothing looked right about the team. The balance of the team didn't look good. And as I said, I keep coming back to it. We just missed that composure in the middle of the pitch. We need to try and keep the ball. If you're playing against a team as technical as the Greeks, and all you're doing is giving it away to them, you're asking for trouble. So the only periods in that first half, in the first hour, when Scotland looked remotely close to being comfortable, was when they were keeping the ball. Mm-hmm. Keep it away from them. Don't let them come at you in waves. And the only way of doing that is if you actually keep a bit of possession for yourself for a while. And Billy Gilmore gives you your best chance of doing that every day of the week.
This one here from Adam, he says, do you think he took Ben Doak off because to try and be more defensive, to try and get a draw, as Greece were all over us at that point?
Yeah, I think I think that's right. I think that by putting Christie, shunting him over to the left-hand side, it was, because he'd be more confident in Christie getting back the way to help out his fullback rather than getting forward. So yeah, again, it was just luck. It's just we benefited from outrageous good fortune tonight.
Yeah. Also, and I know Fraser mentioned it, but it's worth mentioning again. Mark says, come on, give Gunn his flowers. If he hadn't made that world-class save, it would have been so different. Kuro chiming in as well, saying the save at the end was outstanding. I can't overstate how A, class the save was, and B, how important it could be come the end of the qualifying campaign. And just to throw in as well, he's not even getting on the bench at Nottingham Forest at the minute.
No, I know.
And to play like that, to come up with that save, just remarkable.
I must be giddy on the adrenaline of it all, but I'm finding myself agreeing with Mark Fairfield quite a lot.
It's not that bad, is it?
Well, listen, Mark just used the phrase to describe that as world class. That was a world class save.
I agree.
And where Angus Gunn has come in for criticism, I thought when he came into the team at first, he looked really good, really safe hands. I thought, you're a good addition. And then he went through a period where I felt he looked nervous and fragile, and he was shipping goals. He was shipping goals that he should have been saving. And what you need from a good Scotland keeper is not just to save the shots that you should save, but save the ones that you shouldn't. And that one there was an example. And remember, was it the game in Portugal? Where he threw one in, but in the last 10 minutes, he made 3 or 4 saves of that calibre, saves that shouldn't be getting made. And okay, damage was done because we'd already conceded a really soft goal. But that kind of half hour, I think it was, towards the end of the game that night in Portugal, I thought that's what you're expecting. That's what you're demanding. That's what we've become used to expecting from Scotland goalkeepers, because we've had so many top level ones.
Yeah,
guys that make saves that we've got no right to make. And I'm gonna put that one tonight up in that bracket. I think that's how good it was. It was world class. Mark is right, and that was a major contribution.
Looking ahead to Sunday, Keith, Scott says, surely we beat Belarus at home. And again, I know I'm the one giving folks stick for not being happy tonight. I do worry a little bit. It would be peak Scotland to win tonight.
Don't worry. Honestly, everybody just relax and calm down a wee bit here.
I know.
This Scotland side is full of really talented players. I was over in Hungary to watch them, brush Belarus aside, and that was a surreal atmosphere with no fans in the ground, and it felt sterile as anything. And you thought, well, there's a potential banana skin here. It was easy. It really was easy. And I think somebody was saying earlier, the Belarusian FA's president has said that the team is useless.
They came out and said they're useless,
So they are, and they're officially out now as well. That thrashing tonight. So they're coming to our place, and they're not in the slightest bit interested in the match. They're in pain, they're hurting, and we'll just absolutely batter them. We'll score some goals. We will.
I love your confidence.
Stand on me. We'll win that game. I was going to say 4 or 5. I'll say it for 3 or 4.
What would you make any significant changes to the start?
Yes, I put Billy Gilmore on the team. I can't.
What about the rest of the team? Because obviously, Ben Gannon started. You'd imagine he'd start again.
Of course, he starts.
Yeah, it's obviously a home game. Che Adams is a weird one. He works so hard. He burrows away, but I just keep wondering if another striker would give us a bit more.
Listen, what did we give Che Adams tonight?
Aye, true. Aye, that's a good point.
Billy Gilmore gave him the one sniff that he had a goal, and it was deflected round the post. Otherwise, it's in the back of the net, and No, I'm sticking there. Lewis Ferguson's going to be out the team.
Suspended, yeah.
I think Ryan Christie as well.
Ryan Christie too, yeah.
So Billy Gilmore obviously just walks into the middle of the pitch unless Steve Clark plays him or something like that. So Billy Gilmore comes into the team, into that starting 11. Well, obviously, we hope that Aaron Hickey's injury is not as bad as it could be. But I think Tony Ralston will just step into that right back slot. I don't think we make any changes to the centre of the defence. Angus Gunn keeps his place on the back of that save. Andy Robertson plays left-hand side. So you've got Billy Gilmore. We're needing an extra man in midfield. I wonder if Kenny McLean comes in. Because, Steve Clark loves Kenny McLean. And there's a balance there that Billy Gilmore would play right with Kenny McLean left. That allows you to put McTominay and McGinn further up the pitch a little bit with Ben Doak and Mick Gannon Doak and Che Adams. Yeah, that sounds like a team to me. But we'll be way too good for Belarus.
Nah, hopefully. I mean, look, you're right. I'm not going to get drawn into that. Friend of the show, Kyle Gunn says, guys, being at home, I couldn't see how bad Hickey's injury was. Best atmosphere at Hampden since we beat Spain 2-0. Green Machine says,
I think, Kyle, the real worry for me is that you probably wouldn't have seen it from the stadium, but you could see it on the TV. He had a real kind of heavy-looking flesh-coloured strapping on.
Yeah.
And I wonder, that might be a tricky one. We might have some explaining to do to his club because he's obviously just coming back now from a real lengthy problem and it was a hamstring injury, and at points it didn't look too great for him. So if he needed to put a strapping on to play in the game, and then ends up getting some sort of relapse with that injury, that's a tricky one. So let's just hope that it was just a little twinge and he's okay, but we still can't risk him at the weekend.
And just to finish in the comments, AGSC Techian says, Ollie Burke should have been selected. Fastest footballer in the Bundesliga. Let that sink in. Keith, please ask Clark why no Burke.
No.
Okay. Enoy says, best Scotland team we've had in years. Bring it on. And this one from Kuro again says, we had no outlet tonight to play through their high press. Needed Dykes to start over Adams. And I'm going to ask you this one at the very end of the show, Keith. just because I like Rangers easy okay, and I'm throwing this at you. Is anything on the Rangers managerial search, gents?
No, it is what it is, and I think everybody knows that as we said the other night, Steven Gerrard has flown to London. We believe that whatever these initial talks are meant to achieve, that they're continuing. Now, at what point do you think, well, if one day turns into 2 days, maybe the initial talks have taken place and this is now something else, or maybe there's issues. All points to Steven Gerrard. I think that's fair to say, but there's just something eating away at me. Maybe it's because of how it played out in the summer. Maybe it's because I've been told that his situation, be that financial or family, hasn't changed all that much to summer. So you wonder what could possibly have shifted so significantly that he's ready now when he wasn't ready back then. And as it was said that the other night in the show, back then he'd have been going into the thing with a blank canvas and a bunch of American money to go and spend on building a squad, in his own towards his own vision. So I think that what happened in the summer, when every day you were getting told, oh yeah, the pressers tomorrow, Steven Gerrard, I think that Rangers fans that are desperately hoping for Steven Gerrard, they should just go a little bit canny on it, because there's something about the whole thing that I think might prove to be a hard circle to square here for Steven Gerrard, whether it is the financial side of it, family side, whatever. I'm just not certain it's as much of a shoe-in as a lot of people are kind of portraying it to be right now, albeit the very fact that he's in London says, they're taking it seriously. He hasn't flown over just to say thanks but no thanks. So there's obviously things that need thrashed out and discussed. But as I said previously, there's almost an element of these candidates right now, Steven Gerrard being one of them, that has real belief in himself. He's almost interviewing the Rangers regime right now rather than the other way around, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I should say that our friend and colleague Scott McDermott at the Record Sport, he filed a story earlier on that apparently Steven Gerrard has sounded out Steve Holland to be his assistant at Rangers, the former England assistant manager under Gareth Southgate. I thought that would be a really interesting get if they could get him, Keith. I've
seen that name as well, and we mentioned the other night, and I've seen it again more and more. Billy Reid's name is a possible part of the team, and I think that's going to be important for Steven Gerrard, because I think he would admit himself his real skill set is not so much on the coaching front. He needs a team for that. He needs a team of guys that he can trust. He's more of a manager in that sense, which is another thing that I wonder if we'll need to have discussions. He's not a head coach. He's a manager. He's a man manager. He's a motivator. But he needs these really clever coaches around about him to give him the background team that he needs, that he feels would be a requirement for him to be successful. Ange Postecoglou, different kettle of fish. A guy like Big Ange, he walks into a club and he doesn't care who's around. He'll take whatever he gets because he's confident in himself and his own credentials as a coach. I don't think that's what Steven Gerrard offers you. I think he offers you leadership. I think he's very good with man management, and he knows how to win games of football. But I don't think his real quality is on the grass as a coach, which is why these appointments would be critical for him.
Right, very last thing before we wrap up then, your predictions for Sunday. It's the last time we'll have a chat online before the kick-off against Belarus. I'm going to nail you down. What are you going for?
4-0 Scotland.
Excellent. I'm going to go 2-0 Belarus. No, I'm only kidding. I think it'll be 3-0 Scotland. I think we'll do it, and we'll have.
Dan, listen. Even in that really weird place that we were in Hungary, which I wouldn't even wish to pronounce, it was a Scrabble sport of a town. But even in those weird circumstances and that surreal backdrop, I was never in any doubt about Scotland been good enough to win that game. It never felt to me like this a potential banana skin. So I have zero fears, especially after watching Belarus. I have zero fears for Scotland on Sunday.
Well, thank you very much for everyone putting in your comments tonight. We know obviously it's a late night one, so we appreciate you getting involved. We'll be back, as I say, on Sunday. I think we're thinking about 7 o'clock, Keith, because the game kicks off at 5.
Are we? Okay, you tell me.
I think that makes sense, but it'll be around 7 o'clock. If you want to join us then, we'd massively appreciate it. Right, Keith, get to your bed. Night.
I fully intend to, Dan.
Always a pleasure, and thank you very much for watching at home. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.